What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
I am Iron Man.
You are a toy!
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
Server Anakin! I have the high ground!
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
I'm simply saying that life, finds a way.
Welcome back to the Big Movie Boys podcast, the only podcast based on an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical. I'm your host, Jeremy Bauman, and with me as always is Ben, Are You Still Watching? Stitch.
What's up, boys?
And Bob, 9 Lives Liebel.
How's everybody doing? Right, meow.
We've got a lot to talk about this week, including Bob's punishment review of Cats, and an update on and suggestions from our Quarantine Watchlists. But first, it would appear that Christopher Nolan's upcoming film Tenet is trying to steal the title of most influential movie of the COVID-19 pandemic from Trolls World Tour, as the Washington Post claims that it alone will determine the future of the summer movie season. Now, this is a story. The article itself is from the Washington Post. It is titled, "The Fate of the Summer Movie Season Rests on One Christopher Nolan Film." Basically, this article tries to illustrate 3 potential futures, one where Tenet doesn't come out, one where Tenet does come out and people do go to the theater to watch it, and one where Tenet comes out and nobody goes to the theater to watch it. Ben, what do you think of these 3 scenarios in general, and which one do you think may or may not be most likely to happen?
Yeah, in the article they talk about how basically they don't know what's going to happen, and they're just waiting to see what happens. I mean, my hope is that people do go and see it. They talk about how it'll be socially distant, and like movie theaters will adapt to the socially distant like new nature. But so I hope people do go and see it. I will not be one of those people, but I still hope that people go and see it so that more movies still are coming out this year, and so it's not just like a wasted year for movies. But yeah, like I definitely don't think I would be willing to go to a movie theater, but I hope more people are like ready to get out of their houses and go see movies.
I don't really think any of the 3 options outlined in that article for the Washington Post are even feasible, because I just don't see it. I mean, when does this movie come out? July, right?
July 17th is its original release date, which it is not backed off of yet.
I don't know, man. That seems too close, just for the way things are in the world right now. And what Ben said, like, I mean, movie theaters will probably be set up for social distancing. People probably have to be 6 feet apart, and people are going to take precautions to make sure we're safe. But I don't see that happening in July. I think that's the next step. Like, we'll get there eventually, but not by July. So I don't think this movie is going to come out. What I would rather have happen is they just straight up postpone it, move it to next year, next summer 2021, have it come out, because I'm so excited for this movie, and I don't want the experience to be ruined by everything that's going on right now. So I'd rather just delay it, just wait till next summer, and then we can watch it the way we're meant to.
Yeah, Bob, I kind of agree with that. The one thing I will say, though, is with drive-ins opening up, I know not everyone is near one. I think that would be the one way I actually would go see it. I know I said I wouldn't go to a movie theater, but if drive-ins are opening up, I think that's the one way I would go see this, because I do want to see this in a movie theater. I know that's not the same thing, but that's the only way I would go see it. I definitely wouldn't risk it in a movie theater.
That's a really good point.
But not everyone is around a movie or a drive-in movie theater, so I don't know. It just becomes tricky like that.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I think July 17th is pushing it. I mean, we're recording on May 17th, so that's only 2 months away. I would be very surprised, first and foremost, if it actually was released on that date. If it is released on that date, I don't know that I don't think it can possibly make the money that they want it to make. Granted, there would be no competition, so that's one of the plus sides. But theaters would have to reduce to 50% or less occupancy. Now, of course, it would probably be the only movie showing in every theater in the building, so maybe that makes up for it. And at the same time, I think this is a movie that everyone involved wants to come out to a theater. I don't think there's an option of this coming to like VOD, like Trolls World Tour, Scoob just did, because first of all, it's going to make so much money, or it would have, under normal circumstances. So obviously Warner Brothers wants the big box office return after investing, I think it was an estimated $200 million on this movie.
Dear God, I didn't know that.
Plus, it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and I'm pretty sure he's been one of the people who have been pretty outspoken on the theatrical experience in an age of, movies coming to VOD or coming straight to streaming services. He's been an advocate for getting people into theaters, so I don't think he wants to do any alternative releases like that. So I think it will be released in a theater, but I'm kind of with Bob where I think they're better off making it next July.
Just delay the whole thing. If it's a shitty movie that nobody really cares about, put it to VOD, do something like that. But if it's a movie that is like something that needs an experience, or it's like a big blockbuster movie like Tenet is going to be, just have everybody agree we're gonna release our movies. All the movies that are supposed to come out this summer, we'll just release them on the same dates next summer. Problem solved. And then just leave the shitty ones, put them right out to VOD. Good ones, you gotta wait.
Yeah, I think you sold me on that. I think I'm up for that.
Good. I've been talking to the people at Regal and AMC, and they're interested.
I will read two quick quotes out of this article. One is from a marketing executive who they could not name. He says, "If Tenet does not come out or doesn't succeed, every other company goes home. It's no movies until Christmas." That's what this guy's claim is, that if either Tenet pulls out or it does release but nobody feels comfortable enough to go to a theater so it doesn't make any money, then we won't see another new movie released to theaters until Christmas at the earliest, according to this guy.
Damn, I almost agree with him. It sounds intense, but really think about it. If they say they release it in theaters and it does become a massive flop because people are afraid to go see it, then every other movie is going to be afraid for the same reason. They're like, I don't want to put out my movie and then have nobody go see it.
Which makes sense because Tenet, in theory, could be the biggest movie of this year. So if that movie does bad, why the hell would you even try?
I think it was poised to be the biggest movie of the year, without a doubt. And like Jeremy said, that $200 million budget, I think they know that they're going to at least, I mean, this movie, Christopher Nolan, we all know this is probably going to make $500 million at least, probably more than that. So they knew they were going to make their money back on this movie. But can you imagine being I don't know, in their shoes right now, probably shitting their pants. Or we spent all this money on this movie and look what happened to the world. This might be a huge flop.
The other quote, a couple of numbers I can throw at you. Not super surprising when you consider everything, but when you take a step back and compare these two numbers, it really shines a light on the current state of things. So this says that in 2019, the April to June period of 2019 produced $3.4 billion in box office receipts. So far in 2020, it has yielded $102,000.
Oh my God, that's wild.
Wow.
So obviously that doesn't take into account, the 100 million plus that Trolls World Tour is made on VOD, but obviously because almost every theater in the country, if not the world, is closed right now. Yeah, that's a difference of $3.4 billion. So yes, Bob, I think you are correct in saying that Warner Brothers and probably every other studio is shitting their pants, trying to figure out how they're going to make any money back, especially with all their current projects being, paused, put on hiatus until people can be in the same room again. This is it paints a dark picture for the future of movie releases.
What a time to start a podcast about movies.
I couldn't agree more. But thankfully, the creative geniuses behind the Big Movie Boys podcast, we don't need new movies. We just need to play stupid games and punish people into watching old movies. Really, really bad old movies. So if you didn't watch, or listen to rather, last week's podcast, we played a little game. It was the first installation of the Big Movie Boys Presents Who is the Biggest Movie Boy? If you want to go back and listen to that episode to hear how it all played out, I encourage you to do that right now. If you don't care, or if you're caught up, then we all know that Ben is our current biggest movie boy. Congratulations again to Ben.
Thank you, everyone.
And more importantly, Bob is a loser and doesn't know how much movies make. And because of that, he had to watch a punishment movie, and he really wanted to watch Cats. 2019's Cats.
I just want to say that I got screwed over. And this shouldn't even been on the list. I get it, it's a punishment movie, but this takes it to the next level. This is unfair.
Would you say this falls into the category of cruel and unusual punishment?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Bob, we're very excited to hear your review. I'll just kind of lay down some of the base facts for you for Cats 2019. It was released on December 20th, and nothing in the world has been the same since. Directed by Tom Hooper, written by Tom Hooper and Lee Hall, based on the musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber, which is based on the poem by T.S. Eliot. It's got a Metascore of 32, an IMDb rating of 2.7 out of 10, a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 21%, but it does have an audience score of 53%, just over 500. Bob, we're dying to hear it. What did you think of Cats?
Those numbers are a little high, if you ask me. But let me just preface this by saying that I watched this movie about 2.5 hours ago. I put it off the entire week ever since I lost last week on the Who is the Biggest Movie Boy challenge. I was absolutely dreading this because I know how shitty this movie is going to be. So I decided to watch it this morning, very hungover, like violently sick hungover. So I don't know why I did that to myself. That made it even worse. Other thing I also need to mention is I'm not the best reader or writer. I'm convinced I actually don't know how to read. I think I've just memorized a lot of words. So with that being said, I guess here is my 500-word essay on Cats. Okay. Is Cats the worst movie ever made? I will be answering that question in this 500-word essay. Cats is a movie based on a Broadway play of the same name. It stars Taylor Swift, James Corden, Judi Dench, Jason Derulo, Rebel Wilson, Idris Elba, Sir Ian McKellen, and a bunch of other people you don't give two shits about. Now, with such a star cast, you might think this movie's going to be really good. You would be dead fucking wrong. The word jellicle is used throughout the entire movie, and I still have absolutely no idea what it means. They refer to themselves as jellicle cats, and they do a bunch of jellicle things. And there's also something called a jellicle ball. The plot of the movie revolves around this jellicle ball, which I believe is supposed to be a singing competition of some sort. The winner of the contest is chosen by Judi Dench, and the winner gets to go to the Heavenside Lair and be reborn to start a new life. Which, from what I gathered, this means suicide. All the cats are competing for the right to be chosen to die. It's not established why any of the cats even have a bad life and would want to commit suicide and be reborn to a better life, but I guess it's supposed to be some sort of prestigious honor. The bad guy in the movie is played by Idris Elba, and he decides to take out all of the other contestants using his magic. Yes, that's right. Some of the cats have magic. Idris Elba uses his teleportation magic to one by one teleport the contestants onto a boat in the middle of a river, so that he's the only one left. Therefore, he is the only cat Judi Dench can pick to commit suicide. However, this backfires because Idris Elba is not jellicle enough to be the winner of the jellicle ball. This doesn't go over well with him, so he decides to teleport Judi Dench onto the boat as well. Then the good guy magic cat uses his powers to bring them all back to the ball. Jennifer Hudson sings a song, and she is chosen as the jellicle ball winner. She gets in a hot air balloon and flies off into the sky to die. Idris Elba grabs onto a rope hanging from the hot air balloon, but slips off and falls onto a statue for some reason. 97% of the movie dialogue is singing. All the songs are terrible, and it was torture listening to them. Also, for some reason, everyone is British. The cast is majority British, but any of the American actors fake a British accent while singing. And Taylor Swift, in particular, does a horrible job of this. Jennifer Hudson also loses her British accent about halfway through the movie and just says, fuck it, and sings in her normal voice. The basic structure of the movie: we meet a cat character, they sing a song. We meet another cat character, they sing another song, and so on and so forth. And while all this is happening, Idris Elba is eliminating them from the contest by teleporting them back to his boat. This movie felt like it was 4 hours long, and the same thing just kept happening over and over. Now let's talk about the shittiest part of the movie, the god-awful CGI. These cats look absolutely terrifying. I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to make the cats look the way they do, but I would like to meet the person who came up with this idea and punch them in the fucking throat. All the cats slink around and gyrate their bodies throughout the movie. The way these cats move and interact with each other does not resemble the way cats or humans move. It is extremely unsettling the way they are made. It is extremely unsettling the way they move, and it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch. They have human bodies covered in cat fur, And the female cats are given weird hairy bumps for where their boobs are supposed to be, and the male cats just have a nice little hump from where their junk should be. Some of the cats do get to wear clothes, though. It is never stated why or how they get these clothes. The faces of the cats actually look fine, and I think if they had made the bodies less creepy, they probably could have pulled off the look. With all that being said, I truly think this may be the shittiest movie I have ever watched. I pray that one day I'll be able to forget everything about it. I do not recommend this movie to anybody. I think anyone who saw it in theaters or rented this movie on Prime should get their money back fucking immediately. The end.
Wow, that sounds really jellic. Wow.
Thank you.
Super
This was
jellic.
only a $3 rental, though, right? So I guess...
Oh, no, you'd be wrong there, buddy. They upped the price. I think Jeff Bezos listens to the podcast, and he knows that I was going to watch Cats. It was fucking $6 to watch this hot garbage.
Dude, I can't believe you spent $6 to watch this. I would have quit this podcast and just said, fuck you guys. I'm not paying $6 to watch that.
I would have rather burned $6 on my fucking head. Dude, this was bad. I mean, this was truly bad.
Would you say...
Do you guys have any... Yeah, ask me some questions about it. I need to talk. I'm riled up right now.
Would you say that there is any redeeming quality to this movie? Can you say... No, I'm going to rephrase that. Bob, I'm ordering you to say one positive thing about Cats 2019.
I don't think I can. I really don't. If you really had to press me, I'd say the songs actually aren't terrible. Like, Jennifer Hudson is a very good singer, and there's a scene in particular when she drops her British accent. She sings, I'm like, wow, that was a good song, but it's just like completely overshadowed and ruined by like the weird outfit she's wearing and her weird like hairy cat lumps, and it's so fucking... If you just listen to this movie on like an audio book or something, or like an audio tape, like I think you could maybe find a small amount of enjoyment, but if you see any visuals from this movie, you're done.
So which actor do you think embarrassed themselves the most? Like, just
That's
from
hard.
being in this movie.
I would say Ian McKellen, because he has a scene where he sings, and it's bad. Like, it is really, really bad. And he's obviously like an older actor. He's been around the block. He's pretty well known. I don't know. It was pretty... Like, that was one of the worst parts for me when he was singing. So I would say probably him.
I thought you were going to say Idris Elba just because he's, like, such a badass, and I know he's playing the bad guy, but the fact
He doesn't
that he's
sing.
just in the movie...
He doesn't sing. He's the only character that doesn't sing in the movie.
Sing? Is that why he was angelic?
He has one part where he like sings like maybe like 2 or 3 words, but he's mostly just talking. I don't think he comes out of this pretty unscathed, if I'm being honest. The people I feel the worst for are like the no-name actors that are in this. Because one, you can't even really tell, like, you know who the famous people are, because you can tell their faces even through the cat CGI. But like some of the no-names, it's like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't even know. They all have ridiculous cat names too. Like, all their names are weird. Like, I forgot Rebel Wilson's in it, and her character is like Mrs. Gumdrop Toodaloops or something. Like, it's something stupid. All their names are so weird. And I forgot James Corden's is also super, super weird. They all have like weird ass fucking names.
Is he Mr. Mistopheles?
No, Mr. Mistopheles. That's the good magic cat. He's the guy that brings everybody back at the end.
That's the only name I remember.
He's I can't see the full name, but his first name is Bustifer is what I see here.
Oh yeah, it was like Buster. It was ridiculous. But he was the comedic relief. So was Rebel Wilson, and they were both just being fat. That was the funny part about their characters, is that they're fat cats. Like, Rebel Wilson has a tendency in this movie, in her one singing scene, to fall a lot. She trips over things. She also, this might sound weird. I actually, like, now that I'm about to say it out loud, I don't know if I imagined this. She has an army of cockroaches that have human heads on them, and she like has them in her singing scene, like in her number. They like run around the room with her, and then she also has like a like mice in a cupboard that also sing, but they have the faces of children.
Yeah, I've actually seen that clip. I think it's the only visuals I've seen of this movie is that clip, and it's legitimately nightmare fuel.
It really is, dude. It's so creepy. And at one point, she bites the head off a cockroach. I don't know. It's fucking wild. And then James Corden, though, I think he gets hit in the balls like 5 times, and that's supposed to be like rolling on the floor laughing shit, I guess. He's horrible, but his whole thing is that he's fat, and he gets tricked by Idris Elba for being fat, because Idris Elba has like a feast or something in a garbage can, and James Corden's like, "Oh, I'm a fat cat. I'm gonna go get some of that." And Idris Elba teleports him.
I love like how they're magical. Just two of them.
Yeah, that was a twist I was not expecting.
Oh yeah, they're magic. Apparently, that was also something that I was not established why or how they could do this. But yeah, they're magicians. Only some of them are magicians.
My final question for you would be that there are rumors that there is a cut of this movie where all of the cats have buttholes, and it is known as the butthole cut. Would you watch this movie again if you were given the honor of seeing the butthole cut of cats?
Absolutely not. And if there's a human being that actually went through and edited that movie, they should be shot and killed.
Supposedly that was the original cut, and then they de-buttholed it for the theatrical cut.
Dude, the bodies
incredible.
are scary. And if you added a butthole to it, that would have only just made it so much worse. Oh my god. I don't feel good right now.
That is weird that they add boobs to the female cats like that's a real thing.
It's like that you'd be wearing a bodysuit, like so you have like the curves of your body, and like for female obviously they have boobs, and like men they give them like a little package, like, but then they just cover it in like cat fur, and it's like a whatever, like it's just so it's so weird, dude. But like I said it in the review, the way they move around, they're constantly like, I don't know, it's almost like they're like doing it in like a seductive way or something. It's really creepy. Like they're like gyrating around, like nobody just walks across the room in this.
So I'm assuming are they on 2 feet or 4?
2. Most of the movie they're on 2, but sometimes they'll get on 4. They have, but it's weird because they have human hands, human feet, they have thumbs, so like they do move like humans, I guess, but they have like a slinky, like skeevy quality to the way they move around. It's really fucking weird.
Well, I am, for one, I'm very happy that I didn't watch Cats, but I'm also very happy that Bob did, because I was
yes,
I was happy with that review.
That was funny.
You guys need to watch the movie. I haven't rented for.
Writer. That sounded good.
Well, guys, I do have it rented for another I think day or 2. So, if you guys want my Prime account,
I don't.
You guys can watch it for yourselves.
While Bob was the only one of us to have the honor of watching Cats, all 3 of us have watched a myriad of TV shows, movies, and found different ways to entertain ourselves during this quarantine. At the time of recording, we're at just over 2 months of lockdown in the state of New York. So that's 2 months worth of extra time to kill, movies to catch up on, movies to rewatch for a little sense of comfort in these strange times. But before we get into our watch lists, I'll just ask you guys first, have you been watching a ton of movies? Have you been binging through TV shows? Have you been finding alternative ways of keeping yourself entertained over the last 2 months? What's kind of been your go-to lately?
I've been sticking TV shows. I mean, I haven't really watched that many movies. And if it's something's on TV, I might tune into it and see a little bit of it. But for the most part, I've been sticking to TV shows.
Yeah, for me, at the start of quarantine, it was more TV shows, just kind of rewatching the things I'd already watched and not really thinking it would be 2 months long in quarantine. And now more recently, it's been movies, just more so movies now that I haven't really seen before. And yeah, earlier on, I was watching more rewatchable movies, but yeah, now I'm trying to watch like different stuff, not knowing how long we're going to be still in quarantine.
Yeah, for me, I've been pretty heavy on the movies, a few TV shows here and there. For a while, right at the start of quarantine, I got pretty heavy into Animal Crossing. Spent a lot of time with that. Haven't really fired it up in the last few weeks, though. So
what the hell is Animal Crossing?
On the Switch, the video game.
Isn't that for children?
Children and adults who have childish tendencies to play virtual chore games with a bunch of little animals in them.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun to me when it's been explained to me. I have not played it.
That sounds fucking horrible.
It's only one of the most popular games of the last 2 months. Sorry you guys aren't, in the loop like I am. But
I'm sorry I'm not 8 years old.
That aside, I would say, entertainment-wise overall, for the last 2 months, I've been more focused on movies. But let's start with the stuff we've been rewatching, stuff we've seen before, and we just happened to throw it on again sometime in the last 2 months. Bob, we'll start with you. What are some of the movies or TV shows that you've rewatched?
For me, there's 2. It's 2 TV shows that are probably my 1-2 of all time, and I don't think there's any way that's ever going to change. I've been rewatching The Sopranos, and I've also been rewatching Lost. Now, I'll start with The Sopranos. I just recently had finished it, like right before the quarantine started, and I just started it again, like maybe 2 weeks ago. I just threw it back on. I was like, you know what? I miss my friends. I feel such an emotional connection to every character on The Sopranos. They're part of my family, man. I throw them on. I go see what Tony's doing. It's just like I'm watching real life, man. I love The Sopranos. Probably the best show ever. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I don't know if either of you have ever seen it, know anything about it.
I have not personally, no.
No, I haven't either, but it's the show that I think I'm going to start next. I need a new hour-long drama show to watch. I think that's the one I'm going to pick over The Wire.
Everything about it is just, it's so cool to see. And I like the time period, I like the time period it's set in, and it's cool for me to watch it now. Like, it's late 90s, early 2000s, and it's just so interesting. Like for example, like in season 1 and 2, like they don't have cell phones, and then like in like season like 5 and 6, everybody has cell phones because like they just became more abundant during that actual time period that the show was taking place. And like even like the way like houses are decorated and some of the clothes people wear, like it's like totally reminds me of like when I was a kid, like early 2000s, like the way people like dressed. It's weird. It's totally like it's like going in like back in time to the early 2000s, and it's very interesting, and it's also, oh my God, it's just awesome. It's the greatest show in the world. And I guess I'll move on next to Lost. You guys know I watch Lost all the time. Jeremy, I think you've seen it. Have you seen it?
I've seen it all the way through once, and some other episodes here and there a second time.
Now, Lost for me, I saw it when it was on TV. I watched it live from the beginning, and then it was put on Netflix, and I watched it 2 or 3 times on Netflix. And then I also watched it on the DVDs. I have the DVD copies of it, so I've rewatched it through on DVD. And then they finally just put it on Hulu, and that's when I restarted watching it. I'm about halfway through it right now, and it's just, that's an all-time classic for me. That's like one of the first like conspiracy theory TV shows, because it's just like there's so many mysteries in it, and there's so much going on. That was like a total like water cooler TV show. Like you'd watch Lost, everybody would come into work the next day, and you'd talk about what happened on Lost. Like, what do you think about this theory? What do you think about that? And there's so many mysteries to it, and that's just what makes it so awesome. And even though like I know everything that happens because I've seen it so many fucking times, still love watching it.
So you were 10 years old going into work, talking about Lost at the water cooler?
Bob was going into middle school talking about it with his teachers.
Let me take that back. It was more a water cooler show for, you know, your parents that I was watching with my parents. I definitely did go into school and talk about it with whatever people would watch it with me, which was like nobody. I think I talked to the teachers about it.
What about you, Ben? What have you been rewatching?
Yeah, so my TV shows, I haven't been doing like long drama TV shows unless it's a new show. So I went back and watched Arrested Development. Everyone's watching Ozark. I figured, you know what? Not gonna watch Ozark. I'll watch a different Jason Bateman show. And I fucking love Arrested Development. It's so funny. The first 3 seasons are so funny to me, and then season 4 kind of dips for me. It's when I think that's when Netflix started producing it. It just kind of got weirder for me. And then, yeah, season 5. I think there's a season. Yeah, the season 5 picks up again for me. But I love Arrested Development so much. I like watching that probably like once every 2 years. And then the other show, I hadn't watched it since I watched 30 Rock with my parents when it was on. And I think I was like, 8 or 9, 10. And I had no idea what any of the jokes were. And now I watch it, and it's just such a funny show. Like Tina Fey, seeing her, Alec Baldwin, Tracy Morgan. It's just so funny to see all them. So I rewatched that. Those are the 2 TV shows I watched. And then just going into movies, I mean, I sent you guys the snap. I rewatched Dodgeball, and I fucking love that movie so much. It made me laugh my ass. You find like new jokes you hadn't remembered or hadn't caught like the first 4, 5, 10 times you watched it.
That movie's never not funny.
It really won't be. I find something new every single time. It's so funny. An ultimate rewatch.
I could watch it back to back. I could watch it once and just rewind it and just play it again, and I'd still laugh just as hard at every single thing. I fucking love that movie.
I feel like whenever I watch it, it's on like Comedy Central, so you get a lot of things taken out. This time it was on HBO, so I was like, fuck, I'm watching this whole thing and I'm missing a single thing, because you never get to see the full cut, I feel like. And then I wanted to laugh, and then I immediately wanted to cry, I guess, so I watched A Star Is Born. And when you see it the second time, because the first time I hadn't known like what happened in the end, and I won't even say it in case someone hasn't seen it somehow, but like, so I didn't know the ending, but then the second time you watch it, you know the ending, so everything kind of just is a little clearer. and I was crying like I was tears were in my eyes like the entire movie because you just know what happens and it's so freaking sad.
There's a lot of like Easter eggs in there that kind of point to the
exactly
ending.
What's gonna happen, and just little things. And
it's amazing. The first time you watch it, you don't see those.
And when he gets the dog, like when he first gets his dog, which I think is actually Bradley Cooper's dog in real life, I just actually I get so sad at that moment because it's just
oh my god,
I don't even want to talk about it anymore. So the last movie I watched for a rewatch was La La Land. I'm not a musical guy, but I love it makes me think.
Oh, you're not?
Like,
hey, I know a good musical, Ben.
But I love La La Land so much because it just it makes me think of California, and I love Hollywood so much, and just it's really like a Hollywood movie, and I just love the cinematography of it all. And Ryan Gosling I think is my favorite actor, so I just love that movie so much. But that's where I really stopped at rewatch. I probably rewatch The Office too here and there, but just for shows that actually stick out to me, those what come to mind. Jared, what about you?
So I don't really have any TV shows. I mean, I do have The Office on in the background fairly regularly, but that's not really something I'm actively watching. So I just have a few movies here. A couple big ones from last year, Knives Out and Parasite. Rewatched both of those. Obviously when Parasite came to Hulu, threw that on right away. And the fam and I rented Knives Out at one point because they hadn't seen it. I really enjoyed it. Everyone who was watching it for the first time really enjoyed it. Two of my favorite movies from 2019, so I very much enjoyed watching those again. Back to the Future 1, I caught on TV, and at the time, Back to the Future 3 was on Netflix, so I watched that, skipped over 2. But now, all 3 of them are on Netflix. So I'm going to go back and watch 2, so that I'll have watched the entire trilogy out of order.
Perfect.
The most disappointing movie I have on here, I have it under my rewatch category, although technically it's a remake. Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution was the remake of the original Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back from 2000 or whatever. A movie that I very much liked back in 2000. But,
I remember liking that too. I think I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, the 2020 remake is not very good, and I don't know if it's just because if I watched the original movie I wouldn't think it's very good, but I feel like they changed too many things. And obviously the animation style is totally different, but even just the content of the movie itself.
Is it like a shot-for-shot remake, or do they take liberty and just what happens? You said that you think it's different.
Yeah, I mean it was sold to me as a shot-for-shot remake, and there's definitely parts that are shot-for-shot remakes because you can see comparisons like that. When it was first coming out, I saw a bunch on Twitter of just still frames from the original and the remake that were clearly almost one-to-one. Just remasters. But yeah, there was so many parts that I didn't remember, which could just be me not remembering a movie that I haven't seen in 15 plus years. But I don't know, my memory of it was so much better. And again, it could just be that I haven't seen it in so long, but that was a disappointing one to go back and rewatch. And then finally, one of my all-time favorite movies, top fiver for sure, was put back on Netflix about a month ago, The Social Network.
I was going to guess it.
I watched that movie once a year at least, and as soon as I saw it was coming back to Netflix, I'm like, yep, I'm going to watch that.
I don't enjoy, what's that guy's name, Jesse Eisenberg?
Yeah.
Don't enjoy him. Not a fan. He'll turn me off of a movie pretty quick.
Fortunately, there are other actors in that movie as well. It is pretty heavy on the Eisenberg, I'll give you that, but
I
Justin
wonder why.
Timberlake, Andrew Garfield.
Okay, I like him. That could cancel it out. I'm a big Andrew Garfield guy.
There you go.
He plays Spider-Man in the movie, Bob. So I think
oh my
you'll
god.
like it.
Okay, I'm in.
But yeah, that rounds out my list of stuff I've rewatched, stuff I've gone back to. Bob, what are some of the movies, TV shows, etc. that you watched for the very first time since quarantine?
I'm going to use this time to pitch you on not just one thing that I just restarted. It's an entire genre as a whole. I've just been getting into anime, and I feel like you guys should too. Anime just, I don't know. It was always something that I stayed away from just because I didn't understand it and I thought it was stupid. But so many people watch it and so many people are into it that I'm like, okay, I got to be missing something right now. What's the deal with this shit? I tried it more than once where I've tried some of the popular ones and I'm like, no, this is stupid. I'm done watching this shit. But I really took the time in quarantine. I've been starting 3 shows in particular, tried Naruto, tried Attack on Titan, love them both. I'm done with season 1 of Naruto. I'm about halfway through season 2. Attack on Titan, I'm about halfway through season 1. But the one that I'm going to pitch to you guys the most, as you should start with if you're going to start your anime journey, is something that just got put on Netflix this Friday, May 15th, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Very good call.
Very, very good show as well. It's weird, too. I don't know if something has to be made in Japan to be considered anime, but this is American anime, I guess. And you can spot the differences between it because obviously it's in English and it's made for an American audience. And when you watch those up like Naruto and Attack on Titan, like those are Japanese. And like some of the humor and some of like the interactions between some of the characters are like a little different. And I don't know if that's the dubs or the subtitles or whatever, whatever way you're watching it. But Avatar, man, like I said, it came on Friday. I'm already almost done the season. I basically watched it all day Friday and most of Saturday. It's so good, and I think a lot of my friends that I talked to about anime they started with Avatar because that was on Nickelodeon, which is so weird to think about. Like when you watch the show, it does not feel like a show that would have ever been on Nickelodeon. It's a lot of like lore to it, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a very well thought out show, and I don't know. There's just like there's a lot of stuff put into it. Like there's a lot of history behind the characters and the civilization and everything that's happening in the show.
Are you saying there wasn't lore in Jimmy Neutron? Is that the argument you're trying to make?
No, but it's so weird. Like, okay, so think back to when we were kids, right? And you'd be watching whatever day Avatar was on. You know what I mean? Like you would watch, So you, like you said, Jeremy, you watched an episode of Jimmy Neutron, then you jump into this stuff. Like it's so different. And I put this under my new watch category, not my rewatch category. Not only to group in the other anime shows with it, but because when I was rewatching it, I realized I think I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I watched episode 1, I was like, God damn, like I do remember this show. And then like I got to episode 3, I was like, fuck, when did this happen? Like I think I've only seen the first 2 episodes of it.
I was just going to interrupt. Yeah, because I was just going to say that's the only anime show I've ever watched, and I saw it was on Netflix, so I started it up just the first episode because I just remember watching it. And you know what I think it is? Like a show like Jimmy Neutron, it's a different story every time. Avatar was like the one kid show where it was like an actual story arc and like you could actually follow along and like be excited for the next week. Whereas like another, like all kid shows are just like
standalone episodes. Yeah, like,
exactly. Like you don't need to watch the one before to understand what's going on. That was like the one show where you actually had to watch along. And so I think that's what makes it seem like it's not really a kid show, even though it was on Nickelodeon and we were the target audience back in the day.
It's strange too because like like you said, it's Nickelodeon and the kids were the target audience, but like it's definitely very enjoyable for adults, like for sure. Like when I'm watching it, I don't feel like I'm watching a kid show.
Well, you guys clearly didn't watch enough Pokemon growing up because that was an overarching story. However, I will say, as an adult, or at least in high school, I went back to try to rewatch Pokemon and I couldn't even get through it. So I think Avatar has a point on Pokemon there.
But Avatar, along with the other ones I brought up, Attack on Titan, is one that I wouldn't have that be your first anime because it's all subtitles. The ones where you have to read the subtitles are definitely have like a higher barrier for entry, in my opinion. Something like Naruto is pretty good because it's dubbed, and from what I've heard, I have like friends that are anime super fans that'll literally watch it dubbed. They'll watch it with subtitles. They'll watch it without subtitles. They'll watch it in Japanese. Like they'll rewatch these shows just because they love them so much. And they said that Naruto, out of any of the shows, is dubbed the best. Like when you listen to the English dub, you're basically getting the full story pretty well. So I'd say like if you're going to get into like a real anime, that's one that's like from Japan, its primary language is Japanese. That's a very good one to start. But similar to Avatar in the same way that it's like a lot of history and like lore behind a lot of these characters and like the civilizations that they're in. And that's something that I think happens in a lot of the anime shows and why people like them so much is like there's such like deep stories. Like there's so much like established information and like history behind everything that's happening, which makes it like the worlds feel a little more like lived in. You know what I mean? Like there's just like a lot to it. And it's something that it's hard to get into, but like I'd say like once you're past like episode like 3 or 4 on one of these series, except for Avatar, I think Avatar any of these can enjoy. But when it comes to like a traditional, I think once you're in it, then you're in it. You know what I mean? Like you almost have to push through the beginning.
You got anything else in your first time watches that isn't anime, or have you been exclusively dedicated to learning Japanese via anime?
You're correct. I really have not watched anything else. Like I said, I had my rewatches, which was Sopranos and Lost, and a few other things. But for the most part, I've just been watching these shows, and I think that speaks to how bingeable isn't the word, but it's easy to get hooked. I guess.
Plus, they're like 600 episodes each, right? I don't know that you have much time to do anything else if
They
you're
are.
starting these shows.
No, you're right. They are. There's so many. That's why I've been predominantly just watching. I've been cycling between those shows just because, there's so many episodes. So it is a bit of a tall task to, get into it because when you're in, there's so many episodes you have to watch. But I'd say it's well worth it. So, like I said, I took my time for my new watch list today on the podcast to try to pitch you guys the greatness of anime.
I mean, I'm definitely getting into Avatar sooner than later, I can tell you that much. So I'll let you know if that translates into Naruto or Attack on Titan or anything else like that.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'll definitely rewatch Avatar, but we'll see if that launches me into some anime super fan like you are.
Perfect.
What about you, Ben? What have you watched for the first time?
Yeah, so mine's a little longer, so I'll just kind of list them off here. So I had never watched Star Wars, so I figured why not start now? So I'm 3 movies in. I'm trying to take it a little slower, watch like 2 movies a week, so I don't.
What
finish
3?
all 9.
Where did you start?
Just how they released in theaters, like so the 1977. What is that?
A New Hope.
Yeah, and then Empire Strikes
I was afraid
Back,
you
and then
would have
Rise of
went
the Jedi. No, I didn't want to go one
numerical.
No, I didn't want to do that. So why? Because I'm afraid those 3 are the worst, the middle 3. Or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Some could say that they're not very good.
Because that's where I'm at now, and I just got to kind of, since I know they're not as good, just from what I hear, I'm like a little hesitant to start them, but I know I will just because I want to see the latest 3 and then probably get hooked on The Mandalorian.
I think if you're not invested into Star Wars and you're watching them all for the first time, you probably won't hate them as much as most people do.
Okay. Hopefully that's
Agreed.
how it works out for me. All right. And then, so next for me is my girlfriend has me hooked on The Challenge on MTV. Do either of you watch that?
I've
No.
seen it before.
So to me, it's basically Fear Factor, but with the same people each week. And then like the drama that ensues from people being in that show. And they're in a bunker and they're being quarantined. And this was filmed it's filmed for like 10 weeks. And it was like right before everything was shut down. So it's kind of like trippy to see these people in quarantine as you're in quarantine.
Damn, I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's actually like I think we're 6 episodes in. If you just started from the beginning, it's pretty cool to watch. And then like they have to do these challenges, obviously, and then it leads to people being thrown in against each other to see who's eliminated. It's always a one-on-one battle to see who gets thrown off. And
Aren't all the dudes like super alpha on it? Like,
yes,
that's from what I remember. Everyone's really broy. Like
everyone's super like alpha male, and then most of them are assholes, and then you kind of find a couple that you like and you root for, and then it's basically the veterans try to get the new people off the show, and it's just a lot of drama ensues. And I just like it for I'm not a huge drama person in these shows. It's more like I like seeing like the fear factor aspects of it, the challenges and the competitions they have to do. And then, so keep it going here. I'll go quicker. So you guys got me hooked on Rick and Morty. I'm already caught up on that. Fucking love that show now. Onward I watched on Disney Plus, which I thought was actually a pretty good movie. I think, Jerry, you watched that too.
I did. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was that great, but
I saw it as well.
It was an alright movie, right? What did you think about it?
I think alright is a quick and easy way to describe it. I think it was good. It was enjoyable, but like I'm not going to watch it again.
If you're bored and want to see like a new movie, just throw that on. And then I watched The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. That was like a trippy movie to watch.
Oh, that's intriguing me.
That one's
I
good
don't even know it.
So Joaquin Phoenix basically joins this religious cult, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's the head of it. And it's just kind of like everyone's kind of hates Joaquin Phoenix for joining. Like everyone else who's already in it doesn't like him, but Philip Seymour Hoffman sees something in him. It's a pretty good movie. And then Better Call Saul finished up season 5. That's my big recommendation. Just get hooked on Better Call Saul from the beginning. It's so good. I like it probably just as much, if not a little better than Breaking Bad. I know that's probably like more of a recency bias, but I do love it.
You
so
said
much.
better than Breaking Bad?
Dude, I swear, besides like season 1, this last season I think was the best season of television I've ever watched, and that's like compared to season 5 of Breaking Bad. It was incredible. Like the whole time you're just on the edge of your seat.
God damn.
And just trust the people who made Breaking Bad that they wouldn't screw this up. Because when I first started, it's like, oh, you think it's going to be like a mockery show because Saul Goodman is the comic relief character in Breaking Bad, but they just go so, like how you're saying in these anime shows, how they character build so much. Like there's so much behind him that you wouldn't even imagine, and these people just thought of it and made it into a real life character. It's so amazing.
I watched the first few episodes when it was airing on AMC,
and you just couldn't get. That's how it is for me. Like that's what I was with Breaking Bad. Like I watched the first 3, was like, okay, I'm not gonna watch it, and then you get back into it, and you're like, okay, this show's actually pretty good, and then you're like, holy shit, this show's amazing. So if you get past like the first 3 episodes, kind of really just have to build up a little bit, and then if you get past that, like 4 or 5, halfway through that first season, you're kind of hooked.
So it's just like Breaking Bad in that sense that like it's kind of hard to get into, but once you're into it, it's like you then appreciate how good it is.
It's like these these slow scene building, and then once like the scene ends, you're like, holy shit, that was intense, almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah. And
then so just the last 4, we talked about Tiger King a million times just with each other. So that obviously, if you haven't watched that, you're kind of just crazy. The MJ documentary, which is finishing up tonight, which I can't wait to watch that. And then the last movie I would say would be Big Time Adolescence with Pete Davidson, in which with his new movie, I don't know when that comes out, The King of Staten Island. It looks like it's a sequel. To me. It does. Like, so Big Time Adolescence was like kind of a good hidden movie. Like I like that movie, and like it's good to see Pete Davidson in an acting role before you see him basically just play himself, even though it basically plays himself in Big Time Adolescence. That's all I got.
For me, movies I watched for the first time, I finished the Fast and Furious franchise in preparation for F9, which I have to wait another year for now. But that was Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, and Hobbs and Shaw. Knocked all those out. I did finally watch Uncut Gems for the first time. Pretty amazing, as most people have said. One that I'm not sure that you guys have seen, Hunt for the Wilder People.
Don't recall.
I don't even think I heard of that.
That one's on Hulu now, I believe, is where I watched it. It's a Taika Waititi joint, and it's got the kid from Deadpool 2 and Sam Neill, who's Alan Grant in Jurassic Park. It's basically those two carrying the movie for the most part. Very enjoyable. I didn't really know anything about it other than it being a Taika Waititi movie, and I enjoyed it all the way through.
He can't do no wrong right now. He's definitely like the hottest.
Well, this sounds good. Just looking it up, Jared, I just looked it up, and it says a boy and his father become the subjects of a manhunt after they get stranded in the New Zealand wilderness. That just kind of gets me hooked.
That's pretty accurate.
I'm listening. This is interesting.
It's got the Taika Waititi brand of humor in it for sure. I think it's like an hour and a half. Like it's fairly short. It's not a huge time investment, and it's pretty dang good. What else? I know we all watched Love is Blind. I wasn't even going to finish it, but then lockdown happened, so I figured why not finish it. Still don't know how I feel about that show to this day.
I love it.
Bob's a super fan.
If anyone that hasn't heard yet, any of our weekly listeners, I am a Love is Blind super fan. I auditioned for season 2.
And you have a girlfriend, so that's great.
Yeah. She didn't know yet, though, so hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast.
I'd say the best show that I've watched was The Outsider on HBO. I think I started that maybe just before Corona kind of shit hit the fan there, but I finished it since. Very solid 10-episode season of a show. I was basically sold from the very first episode, and it only got better from there, in my opinion. I feel like there was a buzz around it when it first came out, but I'm not sure that it really had legs. So if you had heard about The Outsider and it intrigued you, I would definitely recommend that you go see it. Or stay home and see it, rather. On HBO, I also watched McMillions, which I thought was okay. Definitely got overshadowed by Tiger King. Once that came out, then nobody cared about any other documentary ever again. That is until The Last Dance, which as of our Space Jam podcast, I had not even started. But as of today, I am all caught up, ready to watch the last 2 episodes tonight. And I'm also the biggest basketball fan on the planet. Cannot wait for the NBA to come back into season. I honestly think it's just an incredible documentary, and for someone who doesn't really care about basketball, I'm loving every second of it.
That shows how good it is, though, you know? Like,
Yeah,
if it
exactly.
can hook a non-basketball fan. I haven't caught up fully on it. I think I watched the first 4 episodes. I absolutely love it. I'm almost, like, saving it, because I know, like, all the episodes... Well, after today, all the episodes it's over. So I think I'm going to try to watch the rest of them all at once in one sitting. So after tonight comes out, I'm going to pick a day, probably next weekend. I'm just going to watch all of them, because, yeah, it's unreal.
You might become, like, a great basketball player just from watching, Bob.
I think that's usually how it works. Yeah, I think me and Jeremy are both going to be. They need players right now, so.
I will say, I think I have a fairly unique experience watching this documentary because over the course, they're going back to, what is it, the 97-98 season?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I don't know if they win or not. They're building this
Wow.
whole thing up, and I don't know if they win. I don't know
Wow.
anything
Don't tell
about
him, Bob.
basketball.
Do not tell him. You're watching it great, Joe. That's
Somebody,
really,
wow. You're
Wow, that's
the
impressive.
perfect person to watch this movie. That's why you think it's so good.
You're the only person.
Every twist and turn, dude. Basically, the only thing I saw coming was Space Jam. Everything else in this documentary
Jared.
is new information to me.
Jared, can I ask you a question? Have you ever used something called the internet? You don't know what happens at the end?
Obviously, I could look it up if I wanted to.
Have you ever watched Sports Center? ESPN, any of their programming? Have you heard of these channels?
I'm familiar. That rings a bell. However, as someone who does not care about basketball, all of this is new to me. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Do you know how many titles he wins in the end? Like, do
No.
you know, like, oh, okay.
I wish I could watch this through your eyes. Holy crap, it's probably so nice. Like, it's probably so cool.
I haven't even heard of half the people they're talking about in this thing. I don't know anything about anyone. And it's, like I said, it's all new to me. I'm getting the full experience of it.
That's kind of great because I feel like some people, if they didn't know any of the people or the characters of the show, as how you're probably viewing it, would just be like, well, I'm not going to watch it. But that the fact that you want to watch the whole thing and don't know anything is, you're probably like an extremely small. You may be the only person in the world who doesn't know what happens, or at least the only person watching.
That's amazing, and I'm actually jealous. Like, I think about how good I think it is, but to not know what happens, like, makes it so much better. Like, that's actually amazing.
I mean, imagine the way you watch Tiger King, right? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know the twists and turns. That's me watching a documentary about a basketball team from 22 years ago.
That's amazing.
But that wraps up this quick list of stuff I'd watch for the first time. Should we go around the horn and each pick one thing we haven't mentioned yet to recommend to the people listening to the Big Movie Boys podcast that you definitely want to make sure they watch as soon as possible?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd love to start when it comes to this because there's something I'm very passionate about. It's actually, it's a movie. It's not just one. It's actually a and it would be Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. The 3 greatest movies ever made, starring the 2 best actors in the history of the world, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. I mean, if you've listened to any of these podcasts, I don't think I can go 30 minutes without talking about one of these movies. You gotta see it. It'll change your life. Start at Rush Hour 1, go watch 2 right after, watch 3 right after that, and just enjoy your life the way your life was meant to be enjoyed. Watch the
Bob,
greatest.
That's a strong take. Watch them in order. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Wow, incredible. I think I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll kill a man for Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, and I'll also kill somebody that talks shit about Rush Hour. So,
my only question, I guess, for you is Mark Wahlberg in any of these movies?
No, I'm not.
Rush Hour 4, Battle for Boston, has that come out yet?
Dude, don't even tease me because I. Oh my god, I think I would spend every dollar in my bank account to just keep rewatching that movie if it came out. That's my personal heaven.
Well, that was a glowing recommendation from Bob. No one saw that one coming. Ben, what about you?
So mine, besides Better Call Saul, like just watch that one. The other one, I'm only 1 season in. It's called Schitt's Creek. You can watch, I think, all 5 of the 6 seasons are on Netflix. I think you'd have to figure out where the last one is. Either on, I think, the CW possibly. But It's with Eugene Levy, his son. I think they're the creators of it. And then I forget it, Catherine O'Hara. She's the mom in Home Alone. So she plays like this former soap opera character. They were a rich family. They lose everything. They have to go live in this shitty motel and the town is Schitt's Creek. He happened to buy the town. I didn't know that was a thing. And they have to live there with all these terrible people who are just like gross and just it's kind of
how do you buy a town?
That's if you can get past that part. Apparently it's a thing, and then like the whole show I think is him trying to sell the town so they can move. But so far it's fucking hysterical. His son Daniel Levy, he plays David in the show. He's absolutely hysterical. That character makes me watch everything. It's almost like I didn't really like the show How I Met Your Mother, but because I love Neil Patrick Harris so much, I watched the whole thing. That's kind of like this show for me.
Jared, what do you got?
I was stuck between two, so I'm going to very quickly mention one that I think everyone should watch. Middleditch and Schwartz. This is Thomas Middleditch of Silicon Valley and Ben Schwartz of Park and Rec. I guess they went on tour last year, and they do a 1-hour improv show, which I've never watched long-form improv before. But I had it recommended to me. There's 3 episodes, hour-long shows that they recorded. And it's some of the funniest stuff I've ever watched in my entire life. I watched one just figuring I'd check it out. Because I wasn't even like a huge Ben Schwartz fan from his character of Parks and Rec. And I don't really know anything about Thomas Middleditch. But goddamn, are they not two of the funniest people when they're doing improv together.
What's it on? What is it on?
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
See, that's funny that you say you didn't want to watch it because of that character. I think that character is what makes me want to watch it.
Okay.
Ben Schwartz's character.
I wasn't too hot on him before, but now I'm all about it. So if you already like him, then no reason you shouldn't check this out.
I definitely think I'll start this then.
Super good. So that's my quick recommendation. The one I really want to emphasize, even though it doesn't need me talking about it, is Dave, which is the Little Dicky show that was on FX and Hulu. I watched it on Hulu personally, but first season is completed, 10 episodes. They're like 25-minute episodes. I think I watched it in 2 sittings, and I had started it, and I think at episode 2 or 3, I still wasn't like completely sold on it, but by the end of it, I'm like, damn, that was one of the best shows, or best seasons of a show I think I've ever watched. And I wouldn't even consider myself going into it a big Lil Dicky fan. Like, I'm familiar with his music. I've heard most of the songs he's made. I've watched most of his music videos. He lost a little bit of standing with me when he pretty recently collaborated with Chris Brown to make that Freaky Friday song. I was like,
the only song I know by him.
Dude, that song's fire, though. Say what you want about Chris Brown. That song's a fucking jam.
I can't even deny that. It's not like I haven't heard it, but it's just like, I don't know. Trying to bring Chris Brown back into pop culture. Not the best look, in my opinion, but, whatever. So yeah, like I said, I just kind of had like a passing familiarity with Lil Dicky. This whole season is like a semi-autobiographical, like him coming up in music. And everyone in it is so great and funny. There's celebrity cameos in almost every episode, like big cameos. Like, I don't know how Lil Dicky convinced these people to be in this first season of a TV show. And I don't know, like my understanding of it before I watched it was just kind of like some stoner comedy, whatever. It's so much more than that. It's so meta. It's so self-reflective. It gets like pretty deep. Like, it goes to like deep dives into side characters and like tackles some pretty serious issues, but it's also like funny all the way through. So yeah, I mean, I can't really recommend anything more than Dave. Definitely watch the whole first season. Even if you're hesitant to start it, just watch it just so you can get to the last episode. It's so funny and perfect. A perfect ending to a season.
And how many episodes was it, Jer?
10 episodes. They're 30-minute TV episodes, so it ends up being like 25 minutes, give or take.
You might have sold me.
That's doable. I think you sold me on both of yours, and I'm definitely going to rewatch all the Rush Hours. So,
then my mission is accomplished.
And Dave did get confirmed greenlit for a season 2. So you have more to look forward to if you do enjoy it. All right, I think that wraps up not only our watch lists and recommendations from what we've been watching during quarantine, but that also wraps up this episode of the Big Movie Boys podcast. As always, thank you for listening, and remember, we'll see you at the movies.